Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Misty and Artemis. Say hi, guys.
Hello,
Hi
everyone.
guys.
So, what do we have going on today? Well, before we get into showing off everything going on the staging branch, I do want to talk quickly about wipes, server wipes for Rustafied, because everyone always wonders it's Thursday, when's WIP? And especially on a Thursday that is the last Thursday of the month, of a 5 Thursday month. A lot of people think, wait, is today forced? Is today the update? And no, today is not the update. We do have one more week before the update comes out. So September 7th is when we're going to see that. And what that means for Rustified server wipes today is that both the weekly and bi weekly Thursday wipe servers do wipe today at their regular scheduled time. And that, of course, is 3 p.m. local time for the region. So that means EU wiped like 3 hours ago. AUSEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago. And the US servers will wipe in 2 hours at 3 p.m. EST. And the servers, once again, that's the weekly and bi weekly Thursday wipe servers. That's your mains, your mediums, your trios, your smalls, your barons, your Zen labs, and the like. So that's what's going on with whips. And then for the medium servers and the trio servers, those bi weekly guys, they do just have a 1 week wipe, as next week, September 7th, is the forced wipe. So, yeah, 1 week wipe instead of two. So that's what's going on with the wipes. And what is going on staging? Well, we have some interesting things that have hit staging here. First and foremost, we've got the homing missile launcher is actually live on staging. Now, this, of course, is a kind of counter. It's like the yin to the yang of the new player controlled attack helicopter. Because, of course, that attack helicopter is coming in next week, and we've shown it off on previous weeks, and we can go into it more if people need a refresher. But that attack helicopter is a new adversary in the sky. And to counter that for the people left on the ground, we now have the homing missile launcher. And it is pretty much what exactly you would expect it to be. It's a RPG launcher that locks on to player and NPC controlled helicopters and then launches and follows. So it's still a work in progress, and all this stuff is very much still a work in progress. So, as always, with the stuff we show off on staging, take it with a grain of salt because it's all subject to change prior to going into the game. But it does look like, given all this stuff is on staging, it does look like there's a big aerial update coming for the September 7th update. And so that includes the attack helicopter, it includes the homing missile launcher. It also includes armored hot air balloons, which we'll get into. And on top of that, it includes parachutes as well, which we showed those off last week, but there's been a couple of changes to parachutes, and we'll go through that. But let's start with the big guy, the homing missile launcher. So, what this is exactly what I just described and what you probably already know, so I don't need to like go into that. But some specifics that we're seeing, it takes about 4 seconds to lock onto a target, and we'll get one of these attack helis in the sky here shortly to actually show off uh, the action, so to speak. But after 4 seconds, it locks on. The missile kind of launches up and then out, which is a pretty cool effect. I've always thought that's kind of cool. I don't know why, but it's like, oh, it's a smart missile. It knows where it's going. And then it follows the target, and when it hits it, it blows up, right? So to craft one of these homing missile launchers is, first of all, it's of course not a default blueprint. You can find it in elite crates from the looks of it. And then it's going to be, if you want to research one, it's 500 scrap. And then at the moment, the crafting costs, and this literally just changed from last night to today. So it might change again, as with all this stuff. But at the moment, it's 15 high quality metal to craft, 4 metal pipes, one trash, and one CCTV camera, as you can imagine. And once you craft one, then you're of course going to want some homing missiles. And those are 200 gunpowder, 3 metal pipes, and 1 tech trash to craft. And that actually crafting process does yield 3 missiles. You can only fire and load 1 missile at a time, as you would imagine. And to get the homing missiles is going to be 125 scrap to research. And I imagine they're going to be found in elite crates or something like that as well. Now, given it's a work in progress, you can see that it's only taking 1 shot to take down an attack helicopter. And that is the case also with the minicopter and with the Scrappy. Now, I also want to make a distinction here because we were just before the stream, we were kind of like, wait, there's been the attack or patrol helicopter, the world event helicopter that comes around. But now we got this new player controlled attack helicopter, but everyone calls the old thing the attack helicopter. So I'm just going to make a distinction and call that old thing the patrol helicopter because I think that's the proper name anyway. But the patrol helicopter can also be taken down with this. Based on the damage stats at the moment, it's 3 homing missiles and a little bit more. So you could do 4, but you probably also would want to do 3 homing missiles and then just pop it with the AK a little bit, and it will bring down that patrol helicopter. Now, once again, I do think it's important to stress these damage stats are probably not complete and very likely to change prior to the update going live next week. But from this, we can kind of get the basics of how this stuff is working. Now, along with that, and to help also, I imagine, counter not only the, uh, well, basically to counter the new player controlled attack helicopter, they have added, and we do see on staging now, the armored hot air balloons. Now, originally, we weren't quite sure if this was going to be like a new type of hot air balloon or an addition of armor to the existing hot air balloons. And it has been proven to be the latter from what we're seeing here, where you can take a normal hot air balloon and then add armor. Oh, also, I want to say real quick, I'm still on the road. And so if I sound a little different or if anything's a little weird or janky, I do apologize. I thankfully will be back home next week for the update and all that stuff. But just to acknowledge, like, if anything sounds weird or I sound a little off, that's just because I'm still on the road. But yeah, we've got the armored hot air balloon as well. And so, how this works basically is you can go to Bandit Camp and purchase this hot air balloon armor for 150 scrap. If you want, you can research it for 75 scrap. It's a level 1 workbench item. And then you can craft it for 200 metal frags. Keep in mind, subject to change. But this modifies the hot air balloon health like directly and basically ups it at the moment from 1500 HP to 2500 HP. Now, that also was one of those things that just yesterday it was 2000 HP, and now today it's 2500 HP. So all this stuff is shifting. But what we're seeing now, based on the current state of staging, is that it adds about 1000 HP to the health of the hot air balloon. So you can only apply the hot air balloon armor when when the hot air balloon is deflated and on the ground, and then you take off and all that stuff. And then you can also repair the hot air balloon uh, armor with a hammer. And I think it's metal frags. And let me look at my notes real quick. Give me a second.
Metal
It's so
frags
hard to be on
and
the road.
cloth. Yep.
And cloth, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. But yeah, that's the hot air balloon. You can still see out of it in different places and everything like that. It gives you a little more protection if, flying around in hot air balloons is your thing and you don't want to get popped out of the sky like too easily. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Wait, does the homing missile launcher target the hot air balloon? And no, it does not. And that kind of makes sense because my understanding of how homing missiles work is they kind of go after the heat signature, right? And a hot air balloon, although it does have the thing that, fills it up or whatever, it's not too much of a heat signature. So at the moment, we're not seeing the homing missiles actually target the hot air balloon, which I do think makes sense. But nevertheless, uh, it is a buff for the hot air balloons that will also be coming in with the September 7th update. Now, also on staging this week, we're seeing some changes to the upcoming attack helicopter. Now, real quick to review, this is the newest air adversarial vehicle to come into the game. It's a two-seater helicopter that's kind of size-wise between the Mini and the Scrappy, and the front seat is for the gunner and the back seat is for the pilot. Now, the gunner can operate both rockets on the side, which you can see and are not are not really aimable or anything like that. But then also the gunner can mount a turret to the front and any weapon they want. It's just like a manual turret basically that can be mounted to the front and fire various weapons from there as well. Now, this week we're seeing a couple changes. Specifically, the attack helicopter now has the ability to fire rockets from the pilot's seat. So previously, the attack helicopter couldn't attack anything if you didn't have a gunner in that gunner seat. And now it looks like this week they have changed it so any of those rockets can be fired by the pilot, no gunner required. Now, to aim those rockets, of course, you have to be a good pilot and aim properly because the rockets themselves are not gimbaled or any way. There's no way to aim ancillary or whatever to just where the attack helicopter is pointing. But also this week, we've seen some tweaks to the movement of the attack helicopter. Specifically, and this is 2 weeks in a row now, that when the attack heli first came in earlier this month on staging, it was like the fastest, most nimble friggin' thing. It turned on a dime. It sped vastly through the terrain, like so quick. And now, over the past 2 weeks, and probably rightfully so, it's turning a lot less nimbly, you could say. And it's a little more, you know, sluggish, I guess, is the best way to put it as far as is concerned. And it does look like that movement range has been decreased a little bit further this week from what we were seeing last week. And on top of that, the turret has been nerfed a little bit in the form of the upward gun movement range. It was just causing some clipping and I think was unintended. So they reduced the turret upward gun movement range on the attack heli. And then finally, also, they did this thing, and I think this might be for all helis, but I'm not sure. But basically, if you fly upside down, it doesn't allow pressing down to fly upwards when you're flying upside down, which I know is a very confusing sentence. But basically, if you were to invert the helicopter and then press down, previously it would kind of essentially bring you up. And they have uh, gotten rid of that because it was an unintended physics of how they wanted these things to fly.
Yeah, and don't
So
get
that
stuck in trees. I just
Okay, come down
I
here,
got
D.
stuck.
Come down here to this one, and we can both get in if you
Oh, it's just funny. I couldn't get it out from the tree.
want.
It was actually stuck.
yeah, so they can get stuck in a tree too. So watch out for that
Yeah.
one. and uh, and yeah, and now also, of course, there are parachutes coming in because this is shaping up to be a pretty big air update. So of course, there's now a way to jump out of high places and not die immediately. And that is the parachute. And the parachute, as we discussed last week and showed off for the first time, uh, allows you to, equip it. It has kind of its own inventory slot on the clothing when you have it. And then when you jump out of a place high enough, you can just press spacebar and it will deploy the parachute. And then what we're seeing is basically the while you're descending in the parachute, You can steer around with the WASD keys, or you can pull out a weapon. But when you pull out a weapon, you cannot steer any further. You, of course, can get shot out of the air, not by a homing missile. It's not going to lock on to a parachute because no heat signature. I guess there is body warmth, but that's not enough. And then, you can just fly down, but you can get shot out of the sky. What was that, like 15 shots we were seeing last week about with the
Yeah,
AK?
roughly. Yep.
Yeah, and as the damage increases, you kind of fall quicker. And this week we've seen some changes. Like last week, you could see if you had two parachutes and you lost one midair, you can really quickly equip the other one and still uh, deploy it and not die. But that has been changed this week and everything. And they've also added an extra slot to the clothing section of the player corpse to account for the backpacks because it does have that extra inventory slot that comes with it. They've also increased the clearance check, so it now needs 1.5 meters of sphere radius and 10 meters below the player to deploy. So you got to be like a little more spaced out to deploy. And then also this week on staging, we've seen some sounds come in for the parachute, some whooshes and the like, because parachutes, although not very noisy things, do have sounds that accompany them. So we've seen those get added in as well. Now, in the realm of other stuff, there are some other things being worked on. It looks like kind of like the cherry on this air supremacy update cake is going to be some form of flares. And from the looks of it on commits, there's both handheld and helicopter flares being worked on. And I imagine, especially the helicopter flares, are going to be some countermeasure to distract the homing missiles. So if you get locked on in your attack heli and you see a homing missile coming your way, it looks like you'll be able to deploy the flare countermeasure, and maybe it will blow up the homing missile instead of your attack heli. We're going to see. I imagine that's going to be coming to staging pretty shortly here. So we'll have more details, and I'll get into more granular specifics next week for the real update post, because at that point we can say, okay, the stats we're seeing this week will reliably be what goes live on September 7th. But right now, all of it's really still in flux and still a work in progress. So I I try not to get too caught up on any specifics as far as damage stats or anything like that is concerned. But regardless, it does look like there's going to be some handheld and helicopter flares coming in, and it looks like there'll be some type of countermeasure. Now, also, we've got, and this is a not air related thing, but boat drifting is coming in. And basically, this week, we've just seen some more work on that. And if you missed it earlier in the month, basically what boat drifting is just if a boat is abandoned out in the water, if it's not used for a while and it's idle there for a while, then it'll just start drifting to the shore. And it looks like there's a couple C bars related to this and everything. And this is another thing that I'll try to have some more kind of specifics of, like, okay, it's after 15 minutes of idle time or whatever it might be. And then it moves. I'll try to have my team test, like, it moves, like the boat moves like one grid every X amount of time as it's drifting. So people can have a sense. But right now, it seems like that still could be in flux. So, not going to go into specifics. But what you need to know is basically that boats will drift, and they'll drift towards the shore when no one's using them. And this does, of course, include the tugboat, which was some of the fixes we saw and changes we saw this week to the boat drifting process. Now, also, they added a Rust PvE mode convar that allows players to shoot NPCs. Well, that's just in PvE mode. It allows you to shoot NPCs. I'm not sure what the hell is going on with that because I don't mess with PvE at all. But I don't know. I'll try to look into that, but I don't think it really carries much weight. They also fixed the ability to drive around a little without a little bump causing you to start flying, and that looks like the minicopter, and maybe also related a bit to the attack heli because it does have this kind of like hover mode, but just some tweaks to the flying physics of, especially when you're just going around on the ground. Also, they are showing sleeping bags on the bottom layer of the map view on the in-game map, and it'll then keep them on top on the death screen so they can be clicked. But it lowered where they are on the in-game map because when you're alive and looking at the in-game map, the bags are less important. But when you're dead and looking at that death screen and looking to respawn, they're more important. So they just tweaked that layering a little bit. Also, auto hover is now a convar, and yeah, that's something excuse me, regarding people using trackpads and stuff like that. So not a very common thing. And also with regards to the tugboat, you can deploy weapon racks and the clan table now on the tugboat. Now, the weapon racks is another thing that looks like it will be making its entrance next week. There's actually a good amount of content, if you think about it, slated to come into the update next week. We've got the attack helicopter, the homing missiles and missile launcher. We've got the armored hot air balloons. We've got the parachute. And it looks like we've got these weapon racks coming in. It's not clear exactly how the weapon racks are going to be added. The most of the conversation we've had is around the idea that they're going to be a DLC, but nothing is really confirmed. So we'll wait and let you know. But the weapon racks are cool. There's three of them that mount on the wall, and then there's one that is deployed on the floor, and they have different sockets to add the weapon, and you can configure your weapons visually as you like, and it's just got a bunch of cool stuff and will not only be a great decoration for your base and kind of a base flex in some instances, I imagine, but they do provide great utility as well because you can just go up to them and drop a weapon or pick up a weapon very easily. You can also reload weapons on the rack as well from the looks of it. So we'll have more details about the weapon racks and how they're found. Oh, and they have nice lights above them too, which is nice. So really, it's a cool base design, but it's got some cool utility as well. And then you might have heard me mention that the clan table can also be deployed on the tugboat. And the clan table, of course, is part of that Nexus body of work, that server to server transfer that also includes the clan system, which is basically the team UI, but on crack, where there's this whole ability to have like 100 or more players and then have them communicate and integrate across different servers. That Nexus stuff, although technically did go live in some manner, shape, or form in the back end this month, it's not being launched as a server type quite yet. But it does look like it's not like those link servers are not going to be like us linking Medium 1 and Medium 2 in the US. It more looks like there's going to be a master server, and then there'll be under that some node servers that you could have. So it could be like Nexus is the main server, and then there's like alpha, beta, whatever for the different nodes. And players will be able to, via the ferry terminal, it looks like, travel between those servers. So it kind of looks like it's going to be its own separate server type. It might even be its own separate tab. Well, it looks like it is its own separate tab on the server browser list. So they're still working on that a little bit. They're still adding some things in with that. I don't think, but I'm not sure. We'll see, but I don't have a strong sense that that is going live for the general public next week with the update. But from what we've heard, FacePunch will launch kind of the first Nexus servers and then allow the community to uh, do them after that once they've kind of ironed out the details and everything like that. We're also seeing some more work on Tutorial Island, which is a separate branch and looks like kind of this new map that might just be for the creation of maybe like some training servers for new people to the game. We're seeing some work on like some missions on the tutorial island. So yeah, it looks like basically it's going to be this like tutorial playground and its own server type, its own map that players will be able to, if they're new to the game, get a sense of that dynamics of the game a little easier without spawning as a naked on a beach in a server of 600 people or whatever. So we'll keep you posted on Tutorial Island, but that's all still on a separate branch, and I don't think anything's going live with that next week. We've also seen just the beginnings of some work on maybe the Christmas event where it looks like there might be a gingerbread building skin as well. And I imagine that will be a DLC to go live in December with the Xmas event, which Rust does every year. So we'll keep you posted on that, but that's definitely still a couple months away. But yeah, that about does it as far as what is going on currently on the staging branch. We got any questions from the audience, Dee?
Yeah, we have a few. But let's start with where is whip and is it a force wipe today?
So yeah, to recap, and I know this is a little confusing when we have a month where there are 5 Thursdays, and one of those Thursdays is like the last day of the month. It makes a lot of people think that is going to be the forced wipe and update time. That, in fact, is not the case. The update and the forced wipe is happening next week, September 7th. And so today, the server wipes for Rustafied, at least, are just going to be the weekly and bi weekly Thursday wipe servers. So that's your mains, your mediums, trios, small, Baron, Zen Labs, and the like. And with those, they wipe at their regular scheduled time, which is 3 p.m. local time for the region. So we've got, what is it, like an hour and a half from now, the US servers at 3 p.m. Eastern will wipe. And 3.5 hours ago, we had EU servers wipe. And then like 12, 13 hours ago, we had AU and SEA wipe. And it was, of course, map wipes only. And then next week, the Rustafied servers at least will choose to wipe blueprints across the board, with the exception of our medium 3 servers, along with the forced map wipe. That said, there is no sign of a forced blueprint wipe from Facepunch, but Rustified and a lot of other communities choose to wipe blueprints every month to keep everything fresh.
Does that homing missile work on petrol heli as well?
Yeah, the patrol heli will be subject to the homing missile launcher, and I believe like all these damage stats at the moment are subject to change, but what we were seeing with that patrol helicopter is it takes three uh, homing missiles and a little change. So you can do 4 homing missiles, or you can just do 3 and then take a couple shots with an AK, and that will prove enough to take it down.
Can you jump into another heli after jumping?
Hmm. That's a probably
You are
not.
able, yeah. If you had it
I was
spot on, you would be able to mount, but you'd
Yeah,
literally
if
have to
you
get that prompt, yeah.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like if you could line it up properly, then yeah, technically, but
Well, there's
it's
some good
probably a
heli
very hard
flyers out
thing to do.
there, so I'm pretty sure someone will be able to do it. Where do you get the parachutes?
That's a good question. So the parachutes are found in the basic brown crates, and they just drop around the world. And then as far as crafting and everything is concerned, it's a level 2 and takes 125 scrap to research. So level 2 workbench, 125 scrap to research. And then once you have researched it, you can craft it for uh, what is it? Two two sewing kits, 50 cloth, and something else. I don't know if we can look at that real quick and confirm.
What was you asking for? Sorry.
The parachute crafting. Can you see that in your menu? Because I'm
Yeah,
not in
sure.
game
2
right now.
tarp, 2 sewing kit, and 50 cloth.
Oh, tarp. That's it.
How does the attack heli movement slash agility compare to the mini heli now?
Our mini is definitely more nimble. Yeah. The attack heli now feels more like the scrappy, to be honest. It's definitely had a nerf over the past week. So yeah. The mini is definitely more nimble, and the attack's definitely feeling a bit more like a barge.
Yeah, I think it's easier to fly than the mini. Let me see here. How much room do you need now to park the attack heli more than the Mini, and can you drive around a bit to get it positioned?
So yeah, for
Well,
sure, you need more than the mini. Sorry, like
no, yeah, that's great. It's definitely bigger than the Mini, and it doesn't have wheels, but it does have this kind of. Does it still have that hover mode we were seeing? I'm not sure with the changes.
no, it doesn't. It's not the same now. So it you can't kind of hover around. I think that's what they were talking about with the convoy, that you actually have to bind it if you want to do that now.
Fair enough. Okay.
Have
But yeah, it's definitely bigger, so it's gonna take a little more to park this guy.
have they fixed the parachute to work in caves, or at least not disconnect you if you try? I would think it's not a fix, right? Maybe they don't even want it there.
No, it definitely doesn't work now because they've increased the area that you need to spawn the parachute, like pull your parachute. So there won't be enough room in a cave anymore.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It now needs 1.5 meters sphere radius and 10 meters below for a player to deploy the parachute, which kind of negates its ability in the caves.
Mm, yeah, I think that's it for now. So let's do a recap.
Cool, let's do it. And once again, the update is not today. So how this always works is the updates and Force Wipe come out on the first Thursday of every month, not every fourth or fifth Thursday. So this is the end of August, of course, and there were 5 Thursdays this month, but nevertheless, the update is going to be 1 week from today on September 7th. No sign of a forced blueprint wipe, although Rustified servers, with the exception of medium threes, will wipe blueprints when the forced map wipe comes as well. But yeah, this update is slated for September 7th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST, so normal update time. And what we're seeing is a bunch of new additions, especially some air related additions coming in this month. So we've got the attack heli, we've got the homing missile launcher and homing missiles, we've got the armored hot air balloons, and we've got player parachutes as well. So this week specifically, we saw the homing missile launcher come onto staging. So it's the first kind of view of uh, what what this new weapon is going to be. I think a lot of the damage stats and a lot of things are still a work in progress because at the moment it will target basically it will lock on to any player NPC controlled helicopter. And as it stands, the minicopter, the player controlled attack helicopter, and the Scrappy are all taken down with one hit from a homing missile. And I imagine that's going to change, but you can also take down the patrol helicopter as well, which does take a little bit more damage. The patrol heli at the moment is taken out with 3 homing missiles plus a couple shots from the AK. Or if you want to waste a homing missile, you can just do 4 and that'll finish it off. But keep in mind, all this is subject to change. But basically, the homing missile launcher takes 4 seconds to lock onto its target, and then it fires off and, well, homes on its target and takes it out. To get the homing missile launcher at the moment, it's found in elite crates. You can research it for 500 scrap. It's a level 2 workbench item. And to craft one is 15 high quality metal, 4 pipes, 1 tech trash, and 1 CCTV camera. And then to get some homing missiles, it's going to be 125 scrap to research. It's also a level 2 workbench item. And then when you craft, it's 200 gunpowder, 3 metal pipes, and 1 tech trash. But that will yield you 3 homing missiles per crafting, session. And yeah, that's the homing missile launcher. Also, this week we did see on staging armored hot air balloons came in. Now, this isn't a new type of hot air balloon. It is just an addition to the hot air balloon. So, kind of like horses and horse armor, you basically just go get this armor and then you can apply it to a balloon when it's stationary on the ground. You can purchase this armor at Bandit Camp for 150 scrap. It to craft is 200 metal frags. To research it is 75 scrap, and it is a level 1 workbench item. And basically, it just modifies the hot air balloon health directly, boosting it from 1500 to 2500 HP. So it's adding an extra 1,000 health points to it. And yeah, you can repair it with a hammer, with some metal frags, and cloth as well if you need to. Now, also this week on staging, we're seeing some changes to the upcoming attack helicopter. This, of course, is the new two-person helicopter coming in, where there's the gunner in the front and the pilot in the back. One of the big ones this week is the pilot in the back can now fire rockets from the pilot seat. So previously, you needed a gunner to be in the front to do any adversarial thing, and now the actual pilot can fire rockets as well. They can't operate that gimbal mounted, turret in the front. You'll still need a gunner for that. With regards to that, uh, they did reduce the attack helicopter turret upward gun movement range. I feel like that was a lot of words, but yeah, basically the upward movement of that turret on the front has been limited a bit because it was clipping some things. And then they also did a thing where they no longer allow you to, if you invert the attack heli, you can't press down to fly up anymore, which was a kind of unintentional physics thing that they countered this week. Now, also, we have parachutes coming in, and parachutes are pretty straightforward. You just equip them. There's like a new slot, inventory slot, all the way to the left that you can add the parachute. It's packed up. And then if you have 1.5 meters of clear space around you and 10 meters below you, then you can press spacebar to deploy the parachute. You can steer the parachute with WASD while you're dropping, or you can bust out a weapon and then fire, but you can't do both at the same time, so you lose your steering ability if you are shooting. People, of course, can shoot you out of the sky. It takes about 15 shots from an AK based on our rough testing to take down a parachute. And then, as the parachute gets damaged, you start falling a little quicker and it becomes a little harder to steer to the point of complete, failure. This week, they also added an extra slot to the clothing section of player corpses to account for the backpacks. It looks like along with this parachute, there is a like new inventory backpack coming in as well, and they're kind of sharing uh, some of the back end, functionality, so to speak, as far as the UI elements and everything is concerned. I don't think that backpack is coming in for the update next week, but based on what we were seeing, it's a hack week project and it'll add like 24 inventory spaces when you are carrying a backpack. But also back to the parachute progress this week, they also added parachute sounds. So it's got sounds now. There's also a bunch of other stuff being worked on. It looks like in addition to the attack helicopter and the homing missiles and the armored HAB, it does look like there's going to be some new flares coming into the game, both a handheld and a helicopter flare. I imagine especially the helicopter flare is going to be kind of a countermeasure for the homing missiles. So you'll deploy those when you're locked on and a homing missile is coming your way. And then hopefully that will take out the homing missile. But those we haven't seen merged into staging yet, but it does look like probably given just the context of everything we're seeing enter the game now, it looks like I'd imagine they'll be in for the update next week. And so we'll have some more information and details for you on our article on rustified.com as always. They also changed it so the PvE mode Convar allows for players to shoot NPCs, so you can shoot NPCs in PvE. There's also more work on boat drifting, which is a new feature that looks like it will make its appearance next week as well on the September update. And that's just basically where boats, when left idle out in the ocean, will gradually drift back ashore. And we'll have more details for that as well on our article next week. They fixed the ability to drive around without a little bump causing you to start flying in the minicopter. They changed some layer things on the map view for sleeping bags. So the sleeping bags on the bottom layer of the map are now on the bottom layer of the map when in the in-game menu. But then when you go to the death screen map, they are raised to the top layer so that you can click them. Makes sense. And There's also weapon racks that looks like are going to be making their entrance next week. It's probably going to be a DLC, and they, along with the clan table, can now be deployed on the tugboat as well. And then they're doing some more work on the tutorial island, which looks like some sort of new map to just allow new players of the game to get a sense of different game dynamics without going full blown into vanilla craziness. And finally, it looks like they're working on a gingerbread building skin, which I imagine will be part of the Xmas event this year. Probably a DLC available for purchase, which will allow you to turn your base into a gingerbread house, which seems pretty cool. But that is about what we've got going on staging this week. Once again, the update is coming out 1 week from today, September 7th, normal time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST. And we will have all the information, and I'll try to get some more specific stats. I know when a new thing comes out, everyone wants to know, like, oh, well, how many hits does it take, or this or that, and and none of that is like really finalized right now. So we'll have some more stats next week on Rustafied.com and on our stream here, which happens every week, Thursday, same time, same place, 1 p.m. Eastern on Twitch.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, how you doing over there with the helicopter?
It's hard doing reading and questions and stuff and fly at the same time. I'm
Yeah.
gonna fall in a sec. Can you get the
Yep, you will.
uh oh shit, yeah, I'm minimized. So do flares distract homing missiles?
I think that's gonna be the idea behind it, but they're not currently on staging, so we're not able to test them. It does look like they'll be in for next week, so we'll have more information on you. But yeah, I believe they're just basically a countermeasure to the homing missiles.
Also we got a prime sub from Cura F Sniper. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for the sub. And I do want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for the support. You know, a lot of people think we're developers of the game or we're on the Face Punch payroll, and neither of those are the case. We are just an independent organization who loves reporting on development news each week and running the best servers that we possibly can. And literally, the only way we can do that is through the support of the community. So, thank you to everyone who tunes in and watches each week. Thank you to everyone who gives bits, whatever the hell those are, and subscribes on Twitch. And especially also thank you to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers because, yeah, without that support, we wouldn't be able to run the servers we do and do this every week. So much love to you all and thank you.
Can parachutes take damage from other players while flying down?
Yes, yes, they can be shot down. It looks like about 15 AK shots will fully take a parachute down. And as the parachute is getting damaged, it starts to, as you would imagine, fall a little faster. And also, it impacts negatively the steering and maneuverability of the player.
Yeah, also if it collides with something while it's in the air, it will kind of immediately pop and you'll drop as well.
Oh, yeah, we were seeing that last week when we tried to
Yeah.
toss a C4 on it, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that, trees, anything like that really.
Will the homing missiles shoot the scrap heli as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is targeting and shooting the scrap heli. It's also will target the Chinook going to oil rig with the heavies, but it's not doing much of any damage there. So you're not gonna be able to use that to really super easily take out all those heavies coming your way.
No, no, no.
But
It was only doing about 30 damage per hit when in
yeah,
reality it'd be doing 3k.
Can
but
you
it
hear?
is.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it is tearing up the player-controlled attack heli, the mini, and the scrap at the moment because one homing missile at the moment is completely destroying each one of those. But I do imagine that will change.
Yeah, it's only 3 as well for the patrol heli at the moment, which is pretty good. 3 and a little bit of
Yeah.
AK.
Can you hear if someone is locking in on you?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Do you think that they will allow the homing missiles in SAM sites?
Uh,
No, not at the moment.
I don't think so. And yeah, it's not available at the moment, and I don't believe that will be the case. I think the homing missiles are only going to work with the launcher because if you think about it, not like this is real, it's all a video game, but the launcher is a key component to locking onto the target and programming the missile on where to go. And the homing missile launcher is the only thing that's going to be able to do that. So I don't think the homing missiles themselves are going to be used anywhere else.
Yeah, something to note as well is once you've actually shot the missile, you need to still aim at where you want it to go because if you aim elsewhere, then it won't necessarily hit where you originally aimed. So it's kind of one of those where, if you notice when I was aiming and hitting the heli and stuff, I was tracking it. So you have to kind of keep the reticle where you want it to go.
Yeah.
Does the homing missile attack Bradley too?
No, unfortunately not.
No. Yeah, it's not locking on to any heat signature coming from Bradley.
And does the SAM sites target parachutes? Yes, it does.
Yes.
Is this an ASMR stream?
Apparently, to some people, it is,
Yeah,
which
it
I'm
is.
fine with.
Yeah. Isn't that homing missile the picture of the smoke rocket?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still some art. Well, this is where we say work in progress and everything is subject to change.
Let me see here. People keep asking if it's force wipe today.
No, and this always happens whenever we have a 5 Thursday month, and especially when that last Thursday hits the last day of the month. Everyone's coming in hungry for a forced wipe and an update, but the once again update only happens the first Thursday of every month. And so the next one is going to be 1 week from today, September 7th, at the normal time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST. Is when does the time change again? Because we're getting close to the time. When do you all go back to GMT?
I think it's the end of October usually.
Oh, end of October. Okay. So we
Yeah,
still got some time before I'm horribly confused for a couple weeks. Good.
that's it. Yeah.
I think I saw one more. Yeah, can you lock the balloon door?
Unfortunately, not. No.
No, but good question. And that
Yeah,
would be
that's it.
interesting with the armor if you could.
Imagine. Yeah.
And this guy said you have three awesome voices.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Let me scroll. What? I'm glad I didn't continue reading that one. Um, Actually, I can. Someone was asking, can you rub your belly and tap your head?
Of course.
I actually haven't tried in years, but I that was one of the things I go like weird off on certain things. Like I can juggle because I just thought that was cool. So I'm like a pretty decent juggler actually. Totally useless. But the rubbing belly tapping head thing was one of those things I was like, yeah, I need to be able to do this. And so I did teach myself years ago. I haven't tried recently though, but yeah, no, I still got it. I still got it.
Are you able to place item on the hot air balloon or in the hot air balloon?
Yeah, it still has a storage. Yep.
No, I think place stuff like on the
But no
floor, maybe.
deployables,
Oh
no.
no,
Yeah,
not deploy. Sorry. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no hot air balloon bases coming that we can see. But hey, if they had the ability to lock the door and you can place a couple things in there, fuck it, why not have a hot air balloon base? I think that would get a lot more people using them.
let me see here. Does the new launcher still only target attack heli?
Nah, the new launcher is targeting basically any player or NPC controlled helicopter. So the player helicopter, the player attack helicopter, I should say, the minicopter, the Scrappy, the patrol helicopter, and even the Chinook, even though it's not doing much of any damage to the Chinook, but it's completely destroying the minicopters, attack helicopter, and Scrappy at the moment. I do imagine those damage stats are going to change prior to next week.
And how is the private anti-cheat doing on Rustafied? Is it working better for you?
Yeah, we keep improving and adding to it each week, and also on the hacking front, I'm happy to say that there was a meeting this week with Facepunch and with a bunch of official server owners, and there were some great things discussed. And it's a game of cat and mouse, so there's really no details to share, right? Because any details we share could be used by the hackers against us. But basically, it's all to say there is some great progress being made both on our internal anti-cheat, just for Rustified servers that we've been developing for basically this whole year now. And on top of that, there's some new cool things happening in the realm of EAC and Facepunch and everything like that. And once again, no details to go into, but it is to say that the issue is acknowledged, it's being worked on, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing some drastic improvements in that realm in the near future because, yeah, the hacking situation has been a plague on this game, and I'm excited to see it be less of the case.
Is there anything on the super serum and the clan table?
Well, the clan table and stuff, that's all with regards to the Nexus and the server to server transfer stuff, which is still a work in progress. It's going to be launched by Facepunch first and foremost, it looks like. And so they're working on it, but I don't think we're going to see anything with that go live next week. I could be wrong. Once again, not a developer of the game, not I don't work for Facepunch, but yeah, they're moving forward with it, but we have not seen a specific time where that's going to go live.
Does the new base render distance affect the performance significantly?
Yeah, good question. That's the global network bases stuff, which I haven't mentioned yet on this stream, but that's another very exciting thing going in to the update next week from the looks of it. And what that is, if you missed it, is basically bases will render from much, much farther out. And they did this by converting the base elements from whatever the hell they were. I don't even know what they were, but into prefabs on the map. And given it's a prefab on the map, kind of like a tree or a rock in the distance, you can see it from much greater away. Now, depending on the distance, it impacts the fidelity of it. If you're familiar with like LOD systems, it's kind of like that. So you're going to see a very low quality version of it when you're far away. With regards to performance on the client end, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. I did have some concerns, especially imagining, if you're flying above a map and it's a 600 pop server and 5 days in, there's going to be bases everywhere. But if you fly above the map now and you look, there's trees everywhere, and it's not a problem because of the LOD system and because of how the prefabs, load at different distances. And so my sense of it is it's going to be basically the same and of minimal impact. And then on top of that, what I was happy to see last week is it looks like there will be a slider in the options. So if you are seeing too many bases from too far out and it's negatively impacting your performance, you'll be able to just like render distance or draw distance, be able to lower that with the slider in the options and get the performance increase back.
Can you detect minis through a wall with a launcher?
Yep, good question. You can indeed. Both there, as you can see.
And yeah, and that's where it is at the moment. I don't know if that will be worked on, if it's going to require a line of sight, that would kind of make sense. But as with all this stuff, work in progress.
How much damage do the players take when their heli is hit by the homing missile?
all the damage at the moment, but I do think that will change. But right now, a homing missile will take out an attack helicopter, a mini, or a scrap in one hit. But once again, that's going to change. I like it. It has to.
Do you think more things are getting added in this month since the developer kids are back in school?
Maybe. Although I think a lot of the going back to school happens later in the month, and then for a lot of places in the U.S., it takes until early September for everyone to go back. I think more of this is a culmination of months and months of work. If we think about it, the attack helicopter, we've known about it, we've heard about it, and we've seen commits towards the branch for this whole year, basically, and various other things. I mean, the parachute work on that has gone back years. Now, not like they've been working on it consistently week after week for years, but we saw the parachute branch the first time in 2018, and homing missile launcher we just saw earlier this month. So it's kind of like this culmination, I think. And I think the devs are really great at planning out. Like when they map things out, it's not just circumstance. It's not just ad hoc. Like, oh, this developer got this done, and so it's ready to go. Let's toss it in there. They really like to do like we had the Abyss update, and that was all sea related stuff. They've been really great at FaceLaunch at planning this out and then timing it so that all these items are released, and it adds not just one item to the ecosystem, but also creates kind of this whole new dynamic to the game that wasn't there before. And that's what we're seeing this month. But this definitely is a large content update month, which did surprise me actually, because a lot of time you think August, people are on vacation, they're taking a break, but Facepunch is here and they're pumping out a huge update for September. And I'm very grateful for them for doing that.
Will the player display distance also be increased?
You know, I haven't heard anything specifically about that. The global network bases stuff was just for the bases, as far as I know, the base elements and converting them into prefabs. So I haven't heard anything about the player draw distance being increased, but I think, hey, it's possible.
Is it possible? Is it impossible to dodge the homing missile and can you outrun it?
At the moment, it's
You
not.
can, so you can dodge it basically if you're good enough on the first pass. But as you could probably see when I was aiming, as long as you stay locked on, the missile will go past the heli and then come back to it again. So if you manage to dodge it, I think kind of 2 to 3 times, then the missile might blow up in the air and you might get lucky. But that's what you'd have to do basically.
Yeah, as it stands now, it would be a very difficult thing to do. But I think that's also why they are planning the helicopter flares, because I believe those are going to be a countermeasure that you in the helicopter deploy when a homing missile is locked onto you. And then, Top Gun style, the flares will take out the missile.
Is there any news on Nexus?
Basically, they're still working on it. We see some commits here and there. There's also a lot of hidden commits going around that could be related to Nexus. Like this week, we saw they added the ability to mount not only weapon racks, but also the clan table to the tugboat. And the clan table is part of the clan system, which is tied in with Nexus. And we did see Nexus kind of technically in the background go live last month, but there's no public Nexus servers yet. So it's all to say it's moving forward, but no real time or confirmed date for a launch of it.
One sec. Do you think the weapon rack will be released as a small pack in the store or something to buy in Steam, like the soundtrack?
Yeah, I think the weapon racks are going to be a DLC available for purchase in the item store. That's what the rumor has been. But it's funny how rumors work, right? Because we've been saying this for so long. We've been talking about the weapon racks for months, and it's always kind of been like, yeah, it'll be part of a DLC. But as I think about it, I'm like, who did we hear that from first? I don't even know. I haven't personally No, no. You know what it was? The commits, one of the commits referenced that it is a DLC. So I think, yeah, the weapon racks are uh, probably coming in next week. And yeah, they most likely will be a DLC.
Do you think character customization will ever be a thing in Rust? I hope so.
I know a lot of people hope so, but I absolutely think it won't be in the form of what people want. Like the sliders of like, make yourself taller, make your tits bigger, all that stuff. I don't think we're ever gonna see that
Bigger
in Rust.
balls.
Yeah, yeah, just have huge nuts,
Yeah.
nah. And if any game did have a nut slider, it would be Rust. But no, I don't think we're ever gonna see that. Basically, when
A nut
back in the
slider.
day, like when they started adding, because originally everyone was a bald white dude, and then they started adding in different variations, and then they added female models in. And as soon as that happened and the Steam IDs were re-rolled and someone woke up as they were a bald white dude and now they're an Asian woman, people were like, what the heck is going on? And Gary basically said, well, you don't get to choose your gender and all that stuff in real life, so why would you in Rust? Was kind of the comment he made. Now, whether you agree with that or not, which, I mean, I don't, it's a video game, so I mean, but anyway, it speaks to the ethos of the thought process behind the character customization, and I just don't think it will be a thing. Now, I think it could be cool to add like haircuts or certain other cosmetics to the player model. I think that could be possible. But as far as just like, well, you load into the game for the first time and you make yourself a small fat dude or a really tall skinny dude, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I was just pasting a question here. Um, Let me see. I appreciate the time and effort you people put into the, yeah, facts.
Oh, well, thank you
Oh,
so much for saying so, and happy to do so. I do love showing up every week and reporting on this stuff. We've been doing this for, well, me personally, I've been doing this for about 10 years now, which I was just right before the stream remarking that this is one of the longest things I've ever done, like for this amount of time. But I love coming back each week. I love the community. I love communicating with you all. And I love this game. I love seeing new things get added to the game. I know a lot of times people are like, they're like, "What the hell is this team UI coming in? It's going to ruin the game." Or now this week it's like, "Oh, homing missile launchers are coming. It's going to ruin the game." And it's like, well, if I just look at the track record, like take the individual things out of the equation and just look at the overall game and how it's been shaped over the past decade, it's an awesome game. It's such a special, amazing game. And I love seeing it evolve, and I love being part of at least the reporting of that evolution. So, thank you all for tuning in.
yeah. And he said, I asked about the weapon rack since we have two types of DLCs. There's in the store on Rust or on Steam. We haven't had a Steam DLC in a long time.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm really not sure with that, but thanks for the clarification. And we'll just have to see. I think next week it'll become clear.
Aren't there already a 3D model of radioactive wild boar and what happened to them?
Oh man, you're talking about some deep old concept art, deep in the concept limbo bucket, man. Yeah, they had like rat animals back in Legacy. And then there was some concept art with like these tumor-ridden, like gnarly ass fellas. But man, if I'm to like visualize the concept limbo as a bucket, man, that's like sludge on the bottom as far as I'm concerned. Not to say it wouldn't be a cool addition. It's just it hasn't been brought up. Like on top of that, we got modular weapons, which I'd love to see. There's backpacks as close to the top on Concept Limbo. I think that's you could officially say that's out of Concept Limbo. But man, there's been any number of things over the years that have been conceptualized or thought of or even said they're gonna do, but have never quite, as of yet at least, made it in. But that's one of the beautiful things about this game is the development goes on and on and on. Like, and I don't know that there's any end in sight. And I'm not looking forward to the day where they say this game is fully developed and it's done because that's going to be a day I mourn, because this is so cool to see every month new things get added.
Yeah, and just come on here every week and yeah, be
That's
here with you
it.
guys. Uh,
But cool.
it's gonna feel empty that day.
Yeah. Do we have one more question or should we wind this puppy down?
Now we have one more.
Okay.
If bases are going to be prefab, is going to be longer to load servers or what?
Arguably, yes. Yeah. And that's where you could potentially see the performance degradation is not actually in game as you're playing, but in the loading process, which uh, the loading process is always or already long enough. So we'll have to see what that looks like, but personally, I'd rather have an extra 15, 20 seconds on the load in than have hitches every time I'm walking anywhere around the map and also not be able to climb a mountain and look and be like, is there a base out there or is there not? Think of how cool that's going to be able to get up high in a mini copter or whatever and like be like, "Oh wow, look at that monstrosity over there like 10 notches away. Let's go check that out." Because you can't do that now. You got to come up right on it. So I think the global network basis stuff is a really, really cool thing. And even if it does sacrifice a little bit on the loading front end, I think it's certainly worth it for the benefit gained in game.
And I see a lot of people just now asking about force wipe today, and it's not until next week because it's the first Thursday of every month, and that's not today.
Yeah, so we're going to wind this puppy down here, but I will recap a couple things. Force Wipe is next week. It's the first Thursday every month. So September 7th, normal time, normal place, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST. So we'll be back here at 1 p.m. Eastern, as we always are. We'll have an article on Rustafied.com, as we always do each week, each Thursday, summarizing everything coming in the update, everything you as a player might need or want to know with some damage statistics and all this stuff. And if you're just joining us and you're wondering, well, what is coming in the update? Then it does look like an air superiority update of sorts. There's a lot coming in the form of there's a new attack helicopter, which is a two-person helicopter. To help counter that, there's a homing missile launcher and homing missiles. It looks like to counter that, the attack helicopter will have some flares as countermeasures. There's also armored hot air balloons, or I should just say armor for hot air balloons coming in to up the HP of hot air balloons. And there's also player parachutes, so you can jump off high places and deploy a parachute and steer around. There's also the weapon racks looking like they're coming in the form of a DLC. And finally, there's that global network basis stuff, which really allows essentially players to see bases from so much farther away, from literally across the map, like you can see trees from a great distance away. And that has some great quality of life and optimization that could come with it. And yeah, there's probably a couple other things coming too, but we'll have the full summary of it for you next week, rustified.com, and also here on Rustified on Twitch. Also, check us out on X or Twitter or whatever throughout the week. We do shorts when a new thing hits staging, and we're on other socials too, and I'm sure you can find us. But yeah, just with that, we're going to wind this puppy down. Once again, I do want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're not the developers of the game. We're not uh, sponsored or on the payroll of Facepunch. We're just an independent organization who loves reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way we can do that is through the support. So, once again, to everyone tuning in to watch, to people who give bits or subscribe on Twitch, and to our beautiful, wonderful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so very much. And much love to you all. And also, Artemis and Misty, as always, thank you for being my co MCs here.
As always, you're welcome, and props to you for not calling me Shadow today.
I know. I just realized that as I said it, I'm like, holy crap,
You
I
have
made it
not.
through a whole stream
You
without.
did great.
Yeah,
There we
I
go.
did well.
Choo choo,
All right.
motherfuckers.
Finally, choo choo. So thank you all once again. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.